Pro tips for BKs, becoming competitive, part 3. So that's built from scratch, and uh, building from scratch is a struggle. I'm pretty sure if you've been playing this game any amount of time, you have all the staples: Monster Reborn, MST, Trunade, etc., etc. Understand that a lot of cards have been reprinted and they're easily attainable. Solemn Judgment comes to mind. It's now common. And when you're building from scratch, remember to incorporate the concepts we spoke about at the beginning. The concept, of floaters. The concept of battle phase tricks and removal. You can even throw a bottomless trap hole in there. But another thing that's really important to mention is when you're building your deck is, you have to ask yourself, does your deck have a win condition? And a lot of times, if your deck can't fully support floaters and it's not quite as fast as others, you need a win condition. You know, Paul Cooper, I give him props. People give him a lot of shit, but I give him props. He's found a lot of success with Empty Jar. That deck's win condition is to deck your opponent out. Then you have people who found a little bit of success with Chain Burn. I don't recommend either one of those strategies unless you totally dedicate yourself to that, because you have to play like a monster to find success with those decks, just because of the side deck hate that people side against decks like that. So it's just something to consider. But in terms of win condition, at one time it was Dark Arm when he was at 3. Pretty much he was the win condition. But Lightsworns, they have double JD. Scraps can spam Scrap Dragon. Of course, X-Sabers, they start getting the Faltral drops and spamming you, making Gothams and Hyunleis, and for the most part you got a scoop. If you want to run a Chaos deck, Chaos Sorcerer, it can be supported easily with Effect Veilers and Doom Caliber Knight. Effect Veiler was reprinted as a rare. It's what, $15 now, $15.20. Doom Caliber has been reprinted. It's easily accessible. And if you don't want to go that high-end route, if you scroll back through my videos, I have a Hammer and Nail, budget Chaos builds, and you could try to update those and work from there. It's not hard to build a deck on the cheap if you understand basic concepts of what makes a deck competitive in the first place. And finally, like the biggest win condition going around right now is Xian. Okay, so yeah, money is important in the game, and I've said it before. You have to be patient and you have to invest your money wisely. Investing wisely, what does that mean? Well, like in anything, if you want to be good at it, you're going to have to spend some time. If you have other hobbies, let's say you like to build models, you like to work on your car, you put time and money in that, and a lot of times you don't care how much it costs. Now, I'm not saying that those things are comparable to Yu-Gi-Oh, but if being competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh frustrates you enough that you complain about the card prices, then reevaluate whether or not you really want to become competitive. You might like say, oh, well, I don't want to drop the money for a warning, or I don't want to drop the money for a set of Effect Veilers or whatever. Well, you're willing to drop, a couple $100s on a pair of subs, to beat around in your car, and that's awesome if you want to do that, but understand, you wanted those subs bad enough that you dropped the money on it. You wanted that nice head unit with the flip-up screen in your car bad enough that you dropped the money on it. And you have to look at other things that you don't necessarily need but want, such as being competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh, something you do not need but you really want. You have to look at that and approach that the same way. These cards, they cost money, and if you want to be competitive, be prepared to spend money. And as time goes on, the cards get reprinted, but you can also realize that those cards are not necessarily needed just to be competitive. They fucking help. But having those cards do not automatically make you competitive. You know, you can find, you know, substandard, subpar replacements for them. You know, for Effect Veiler, Phoenix Chain, you know, or you run a deck that runs Skill Drain. Solemn Warning, you can max out on Bottomless and Deep Prison, you know, that kind of thing. And Pot of Duality, you can increase your floater count in your deck. Because basically what Pot of Duality is, it filters your deck. And if you have a good system of floaters in your deck, that can also help you. And again, these aren't, those suggestions are not the answer to the problem of spending the money. What I'm saying is that you do not necessarily have to drop money just to be competitive. And remember, being competitive is a state of mind, understanding the concepts, being patient, and being willing to put in the time to learn what the other decks do, learn the meta, learn how to counter them, understand why decks like Tech Genesis, understand why that deck won, you know, understanding that, okay, Tech Genesis is an amazing deck, it's fast, it's not that expensive yet. However, DD Crow in the end phase, when they want to activate the effect of these three, wrecks the deck. A well-timed DD Crow will shut down that effect. When you understand that type of interaction, you know, then you don't have to worry so much about the money, because you know, okay, this is what I have to do. And to be honest, I've topped several regionals without running high-end cards. During the Teledad format, I did not own a Dark Armed Dragon because I didn't want to drop the money on that shit. But what I did do was I scraped together the cards I had, and I armed myself with the knowledge of how those other decks work. I watched people play over and over and over again and say, okay, if I can keep 3 darks out of the grave, if I can get to my oppression in time and protect my roll oppression, I won't be seeing Dark Armed Dragon and a lot of other shenanigans that that deck presented. So that's the type of things you have to look at. Alright, next time I have my little final say, and I'm hoping you guys are following along.